My name is Dan Kramer with Montana Rural Water, and just to give you a little background on me, I'm one of those guys that's been in the trenches. I used to run and operate 3 water and sewer districts on part-time basis. And then I was also, worked in the automotive and tractors and heavy equipment, and also worked for a military contractor in engineering for 3 years. I have a 3.5-year degree in digital microprocessor systems and electronics. I used to test and build test fixtures for Uncle Sam's electronic warfare stuff. So I used to play all those games. And in the meantime, while I had my own shop for 5 years, Montana Rural Water asked me to go to work for them. And that was when the big gas crunch hit, and everybody decided that they were going to save their money and buy groceries instead of fix broke stuff like on their cars and rigs and stuff. So I did. So I've been with Montana Rural Water for 12 years, or going to 13 years. So I got probably 23 years in the water and the sewer business. But when I first started out, I worked as a travel circuit rider, which I did both water and sewer. I'm certified both water and sewer for doing technical assistance. And then after that, I was in the wellhead protection program. I used to do source water protection for wellhead protection for wells and stuff for I think it's just almost a year, a little over a year. The boss asked me, well, Dan, could you move to another position? He says, well, it all pays the same, right? He says, yeah. He says, well, we'd like you to move into the wastewater side of things. So I was in the wastewater, moved to the wastewater circuit rider program, and I've been in that for a number of years, so probably about 6 or 8 years. And here recently, I was moved into the circuit rider program. Prior to that, and that deals, circuit rider side of it deals with water. Prior to that, though, I was doing rate structures and stuff with Harry Whalen, who used to do rate structures with you guys years ago. But what happened is now I am doing rate structures for both water and wastewater. And I had a community prior to me coming into this community. A friend associate did a rate structure for them, and they didn't like it, and they told them to leave. And I got to thinking about it. So why is that be the case? Well, a lot of times when we did a rate structure, if you recall, it's you get the deer in the headlights look, and all the councilmen wonder, oh, how in the heck you did it? I guess it's right, whatever. I don't really understand how it happens or how it's put together. And the public get that attitude too. And a lot of times you go into the notice of intent, where resolution to raise the rates, and you go through that process, and then you have 3 weeks where you have to do the public advertisement, and you finalize your final rate structure. And the people felt like they didn't have a say in what was going on, or they didn't understand as well as the council. So I was asked to come back to this community, and the fact is I was there today, and I really can't name any names. And they actually started all this, and I thought it was quite interesting. I showed up, and I had an appointment to talk about their rate structure, and I showed up, and the clerk started making phone calls, and I says, what are you doing? And he says, well, as soon as you come in, I was supposed to call and get all the councilmen here, and we want to talk about their rate structure for their project that they're under. And in this case, it was a sewer project because they were under administrative order consent they had to get these things fixed. But they had to establish a rate structure so they'd be able to pay for it and make it happen. So they showed up, and I got, wow, this is kind of wild. Knowing what I know from previously, they didn't like the way it was done before, so I think I'm going to change things up. This was just one of those things, So what I do is I threw the spreadsheet up on the screen. And it says, being I have all of you except one, we're going to go ahead and do a rate structure right here and now. We're all going to work on it. And I'm going to explain how it works. And it was cool. They understood it. They knew how to do it. And the fact is, I left them the rate structure for them to even work on it after I leave. So they really liked it. The benefit of that is I can take that rate structure anytime I want. That's not necessarily raise the rate to see how am I doing. I can plug that information into that spreadsheet and it automatically populates it out to what everybody should be paying. Now, how often do you get a spreadsheet or balance sheet? I want to make this perfectly clear. That lady over there in the corner, Brenda, she's a wonderful person. She's done a lot for your community. She knows a lot. She's just a valuable resource. And what she's done here in keeping you guys financially is amazing. Really, it is. It really is. And I'm not here to put anybody down or anything else. I want to give you the tools and the education to move ahead, to look ahead, look forward thinking. And that's one of the things I express explicitly is let's not think about what happened in the past, let's move forward. So, got that out of the way. I want to make sure credit is due where it really belongs. But they called me back a week later and he says, and the council just loved it, right? And they called me a week back later and says, Dan, this is what? I want you to come back and do this again. What do you mean? Well, we want to have a public meeting and the council, I want you to do exactly the same thing you did with us, only with the public. What happened? Well, first of all, the first day I did this, the council took ownership and responsibility for the rate structure. It's no longer mine to do for you and see if you like it. It's yours and your responsibility to make sure the numbers are where they should be. And you can take that and see where you're at. How am I doing? Am I behind on my rate? Or I'm in the good? I'm in the black or the red? And you can see, if she gave you a spreadsheet and balance sheet, how does that relate to you as an individual user? I don't know. But if I have a spreadsheet and I can plug the numbers into it, and boom, it pops it out and says, this is where I need to be, that means a whole different story. I mean, that's huge. And that's what happened with those councilmen when we sat down and did that. They looked at that and they go, huh. Now, I like this. Fact is, one of them says, you know what, I'm getting kind of warm fuzzy over this. No. But it was really cool because they actually felt like it's theirs and they had control. They could make changes and stuff and see how it affects it and see how the numbers come out. The spreadsheet also does cost per thousand. That's your variable income that comes into as well. So you have these flexibilities to change these numbers and see how it affects what you guys are going to bring in as far as income so you can pay the bills. And you can do it anytime you want to. How good is that? That's cool. I did it for the public and guess what? They literally says, I love this. I understand it. I get it. And guess what happened? They took ownership and responsibility for their rate too. Now what's happened is I've done a number of these workshops all over the state of Montana. And I've seen towns and cities and districts change overnight. Because we're bringing about transparency. We're bringing about, hey, this is what it costs to make this thing work. This is what it costs to fix the broke stuff. How big is that? That's huge. That's absolutely huge. Now, I have another spreadsheet I'm going to give and leave with you too. And it's called Asset Inventory Management System. And what you're really going to look at, what it really stems off to, is what they call capital improvement plan. Now, most of your engineers and stuff, I mean, they're great, they do the jobs, I mean, everything else, but a lot of them don't bring it down to the little details in the plant. They'll do a general CIP or capital improvement plan of the plant, what it costs, and they'll depreciate it out, and they can give you some O&M numbers in there, and that's it. But the problem with that, it's in a document, it's not a living document. You need it in a spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet I got was from an individual, and unfortunately I can't name his name, but I can share it later with you. And he's working on, all he has to do is his dissertation. He's going to doctorates in asset management. And this spreadsheet was developed for the city of Chicago. This asset management thing will take it's a spreadsheet, and you can put that item in there, and it has a reference in it, and it can tell you how long it's going to last, what its rated life cycle is, and how many years you want to prorate it out. And boom, up on the top it'll say, okay, how much money I need to put away to replace that per year. Well, what's the difference between you owning a house and you got a roof that needs to be replaced? Don't you put money away for it? You know it's going to be done in 10, 15 years. You got to replace your roof. Well, this is the same thing. Only you can do your pumps, your valves, your motors, your generators, all these items. You can put this into this asset management spreadsheet, so you know where you're at. So in that rate structure, there's a spot in there that says asset replacement reserve. Now, Brenda's done a great job of trying to pull money in and put into those reserves. By the end of the year is what you guys have left over when everything's paid for, and it goes into those reserve accounts. And the problem is that it's variable. It goes up and down and according to what you guys take in. But you really need to set that number and what that is. You need to set that goal. She depreciates out your assets, and she even puts a percentage in there to what it's going to cost in the future, because the price of stuff goes up. That spreadsheet does it too. You can change that. But what it does is it also tells you what you should be pulling each year to pay for those pumps and motors and all that, building structures or whatever. So I'll have the money when they fail. I can pay for it. And I'm not paying interest on it anymore. In the city of Chicago and those states over on the East Shore, they are required by law, to have money in an account to replace those assets. They can't just go from crisis mode to crisis mode and hope the state and the feds are going to come up with some money to pay for it. And I've been told and been shared with from the feds in the state, it says, guys, you need to be sustainable. What that line says there, it says, for undertakings of self, you have to be self-supporting. Accept and provide in subsections. It talks about the subsections. This is 2014. 2015 will say the same thing. I'm sorry I didn't update it. It needs to be updated. But municipalities issuing bonds pursuant, and if you go right on down, or it says where commodities of undertaking and shall revise the rates and charges from time to time whenever necessary, so that the undertaking is and remains self-supporting. That's actually a law. You guys, we haven't been doing that. And this is not just here, it's nationwide. It's a nationwide problem. Brenda, I don't know if you remember, we did here last year, we talked about EUM trainings. They called effective management utility trainings that Rory did, and I've done. I don't know if you knew about it, but some of the guys, we did do these. And there was 10 items on a list, and it was a national thing that RD wanted us to do. Okay? And out of those 3 things, they did surveys on them after we did the training session and stuff. There was 3 things that come out. And guess what those 3 things were? Sustainability, education, and financial viability. Well, before you can get to the sustainability or financial viability, you got to have the education. And I'm hoping I'll be able to point you in that direction and share what I have or I know to bring about that education. That's why I'm here today. And I'm going to provide you this spreadsheet so you guys can see how you're doing. So you can be financially viable. And if I'm financially viable, then I'm self-sustaining. So that's the key of going where we need to go. And this file and stuff, Brenda's gonna have it, and the spreadsheets I'm gonna provide and everything. I'm gonna give copies of this to her. So you guys have access to it. You can download a copy of whatever. And that engineer, he told me to share it with all the systems in the state. He says they need this. It's huge. So the asset management spreadsheet is actually a living document, because it's not something you can just do and it's over with. No, every time he changes a pump or a valve or whatever, you need to update it and say, hey, he changed it. It starts all over again. Just like your depreciation. When you upgrade or do changes on the wells, you start your depreciation over again, because that's what you have vested into it. But the cool thing is that you can see you have certain items that are going to fail on you by a certain period of time, and you have an idea what you need to budget for, because everything has a life expectancy. It's not going to be this, oh no, this thing broke, we got to fix this, so we got to spend X amount of dollars. We can see that we got trouble spots coming before they come. That's the cool thing about it. But it's going to take some work on everybody's part to put that together. I mean, it'd be nice to really know where your community's at and what your infrastructure is, and where our trouble spots are and where they are going to be in the future. And that's what that sheet will do. In Chicago, that spreadsheet saved around, I think he said around $10 million. Because he knows there are certain items that'll wear out, and just prior to wearing out, the efficiency goes away, if it's a pump, and the electrical cost is going to go up because it's working twice as hard. It's costing you money because it hasn't totally failed, but it's on its way out. So it was advantageous for me to replace that pump before it actually catastrophically fails. So you can prepare yourself for what you need to do and where you need to go. So you have a better idea for that. So that's what that asset management sheet's all about. And that's what it can do for you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the rate structure and show you how that works. Now, I gave you there's some information that Brenda's brought to me, so we can plug some numbers into it, and I'll show you and explain how this sheet works, and you can see how it pops out. And it automatically populates the cells for you. You don't have to do that. All you do is put the numbers. So, we'll switch screens here. Now, here you can put your name of your town in here and the date and time when you did it, whatever. So you notice here, you have different size lines. You got 5/8, 3/4 inch, and everything else. Well, how that is figured is on 3/4 inch line, that's what generally all your houses and stuff will take. The 5/8 line, they consider that the same as the 3/4 as far as your multiplier. The multiplier is the surface area of the 3/4 inch pipe. How much water, if I were to cut a section off in that pipe, I can see a 3/4 inch hole right there. I can see a hole right in the middle of it. Now if I go down to the 1 inch, you notice this is 1.79. That means 1.79 times a 3/4 inch pipe will fit in that 1 inch pipe. In other words, that's how many times I can shove a 3/4 inch line inside that pipe by the surface area. So that pipe will flow, it's a ratio, it's a multiplier, will flow 1.79 times more water than a 3/4 inch. But it also has to do with a function of how much it costs you to make water, how much water they receive, and infrastructure like your piping, how much it costs, it's more money. Your plant has to provide that flow and everything else. So that multiplier helps set your costs for each person who, whatever, if they want a 2-inch line, look down there. It's 7.14 times a 3/4 inch line price. Okay? So that's how much more water will flow in a 2-inch line to a 3/4 inch line. So if they want more flow, they want more water, they're going to have to pay for it because it costs money to get the water to you. Okay? And treat it. So that's where the multiplier comes from. Any questions? Clear as mud? Any puzzle looks? Okay. So far we're good. All right. That's really that multiplier is the key of the whole function of this spreadsheet. And it also helps set your commercial rate too at the same time. So if you got a big business and it uses a lot more water, it will, they got to pay for it. So what we're going to do is, if we look at the sheet, we're going to put your numbers in here. And we have a 3/4 inch line, so all I'm going to do is I know there's 393 3/4 inch lines. Now if I go down to 1 inch, down here, I know there's 11. If I go down 1.5, there's 6. If I go down to 2 inch, there's 5. And you don't have any 3 inch, so we're going to backspace that out. Okay. So with that, notice on your sheet of paper, Brenda, she just did what we figured. It says 415 EDUs. Notice this says 415 EDUs. Now, 450 connections. Your EDUs is 472.39. Reason being, that's the equivalent of these larger lines plus the 3/4 is equivalent to 472.39 3/4 inch lines in your systems. That's what is equivalent to. Okay. So,
so basically, what you're saying is, with the 1 inch and 1.5 and 2 inch, you're equaling 472 3/4 inch lines.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. All right.
EDUs is called equal or
Is equivalent dwelling units. And on a national average, equivalent dwelling unit is 2.5 people per household. Okay. So that's as far as entering your connection numbers and stuff, that's where you're at. And when you make sure these numbers are accurate, then your rate will be accurate. Existing debt. Let's go to the water side. She says you have a loan payment. This is yearly. Notice here it says yearly. So that will be, you got 118,789. So we put 108,789, and boom, comes out to $20.96. If you have
no new debt.
no new debt, but if you think you got a project coming down the road and you have a approximate number what that loan or that debt will be per year, you can poke it in there and see how it's going to affect your debt, your rate structure. I mean, this is a huge,
awesome.
This is a great tool so you can see how and what I'm doing. How am I doing? What will my rate be if I have a new project? I can poke that in there, okay? Now reserve. A lot of your loans and stuff that you have is they'll have reserves. There's several different types of reserves. There's all kinds of reserves actually. But there's a list, but I'm not going to go into that list. Brenda, if you want to know more about the different accounts and reserves, you can ask Brenda. She knows all about it.
Our loan reserves are fully funded.
Fully funded,
Fully
okay.
funded at the moment.
So, but
That's
what she means by that is that every loan or debt you're required to have X amount of dollars in the bank sitting there in case I can't make the loan payment. If everybody decides to move out of town and there's no money coming in, I'm able to make that loan payment.
But if you use those funds, you have to replace it in the next year.
And,
Does it burn it fully
and
back?
depending on the loaning agency, you have to ask permission from the agency to use those loans. You cannot dip into it unless you have permission, okay, for that particular funds. Because that's there to cover your payment if you can't make your payment for some reason or another. Now there's other reserves too, and down here, if you look down here, this actually should be changed. I put capital improvement fund. It's one and the same as asset replacement reserve, okay?
Which is our replacement depreciation reserve.
Reserve. And you guys do a remarkable job, but you basically annually put money that you have left over each year into that reserve based on what you use or don't use, okay? And in this case, you guys last year put 50,000 in there. And I think that's remarkable. I think that's really, really, really good. But the question I have for you, unless you do an asset inventory and know where all your assets are and know what you should be replacing, that's where that that asset management spreadsheet will help you. You will know, and you will probably find out you're probably not going to have enough, you can't put enough money in there to cover everything. Because you got plants, I know plants and stuff, they're well over $2 million. And a water site over 3. But here, when they were first put in, you should have been putting a little bit in asset replacement for that asset. And if you had it broke out in the asset reserve fund in smaller, different things like short-lived assets that break all the time, you could be break them out even further yet to know what kind of number I should be putting away every month to fix the broke stuff. And not having to run to the state or the feds say, oh man, I don't have enough money in my coffers to pay for it. Or it's failing, or I have a main line that's failing. I mean, if you decide on what that number is, it'll save you money and interest and engineering. You know, well, some cases you got to have engineering done if you have to change something from what it originally was. You know, like you have an old main line, so AC pipe, then you want maybe PVC in there. That's going to have to be engineered. But the thing is you'll have the money to pay that engineer to do that. You're not have to go get a loan or a grant to make it happen. And meantime, you're waiting for these things to happen, and you need it fixed now.
If you notice, I also put down there that what we are looking for annual depreciation is different than the 50,000.
It is. It really is. And here's another aspect to that too as well. She has on the books is what she's depreciated right now that she's depreciating. But there are assets you guys currently use every day that are already depreciated out, that they're done. They're not even on the books anymore. But yet, when they do wear out, you still got to be able to replace it. I'm patched it all this time and kept it going. But do I have the money in my coffers to replace it? Probably not. So you need to take a look at that, and that's really key or important on that to make sure you have money to cover these assets. Are you going to have enough money for that? I'm going to say no. But you at least need to define what that number is. Because you got to start somewhere and you got to start putting money away for it. An example of that is I worked on a system on a mountain. I'm going to just call it a big mountain. And it was a sewer system, and we were working on a rate structure up there. And he went through the EUM, Effective Utility Management training and stuff that we did. And we worked together, and he did it. Before they did a rate structure, they decided, well, maybe I better do an asset inventory of my system to see what I have. Nobody's done it. Guess what he found out? He found out there was $700,000 worth of assets that wasn't even on the books. Because what happens is they had these developments come in, they build these assets for them, and then they inherit the asset. But it's theirs now, but they didn't get on the books. And there was assets that should have been insured, but weren't insured. Until he did an asset inventory, he didn't know. He had no idea what he needed to have insured or not insured. And it was huge. And he told me, he says, well, Dan, I think we're doing okay because we have $1 million in our asset replacement fund. And I says, well, that's really good. I'm pretty proud of you. But is it enough? He says, what do you mean? I says, well, I know a sewer lift station right now. If it happened to slide off the hillside and take a quarter mile of sewer main with it too, there's $500,000 that just went down the hillside. And it just took a quarter mile of sewer main with it, so there's another 1.2 million. And that doesn't even include engineering costs to put it back in. He said, oh, I got your point. So he's doing really good. But my point is you need to set a goal or have set aside a certain number in that capital improvement, not spot right there or asset replacement, so you know that you're actually working towards a goal to build that up so you have the funds to work forward on things. And when it does come up, when you do have those problems. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's systems all over the state. They don't have nothing in there. They do have reserves, like similar to what you're doing, but they haven't set a number what that should be. And they haven't done an asset inventory either. They don't know what they have or don't have, and how old it is, and when it's going to fail. It would be great to know when things are going to happen before they happen. You can do that, but it takes time and energy to put that together. But it is doable. It is doable. So, we're back to your reserves, and this is already satisfied, so you don't have to worry about that. So we're going to take that out, okay? O&M, what's your O&M right now?
No, the 106,175.
Okay.
That's what we're projecting for next year at this point.
Okay, boom, we put that in there. Hypothetically, guys, what do you think we should put in there? Should I put a number in there or not? Okay, let's not for a second. Okay, we got a rate here at 39.69. Okay, what are they paying for a base rate for a 3/4 inch line right now?
27.63.
You see, all right, we're busted. We're not paying the bills. Now, what is not happening here is you guys do pay so much per thousand for water, right?
Right.
So that's what your variable income is probably offsetting this to a certain amount too as well. And there is a place here in this spreadsheet you can add the variable income and find out what it is. The best way to do that is do that variable income based on winter usage. Okay? Because you're not watering grass, you're not a lot of extra watering. You know everybody's going to use so much water. It'll be during the winter time when they're only using it for your personal use, okay? And the grocery stores and stuff are using it. Everybody's using for essential needs. And you can put that in there, and you can make an adjustment to this if you wish. By that variable income. But remember, you still have to pay your O&M. You still have to pay your existing debt. And that's so important to make sure you have that money guaranteed to be paid. But right now you can see by what you're paying now, you're not paying enough to break even, according to this, on your base rate. So you can look down here further, you can look at what each person will be paying per line size, and it goes up. It does go up quite a bit. So basically you can see right now where you're at, and you can see that really we aren't really making the bills like we should. But again, we haven't put in the variable rate. There's some income coming from by cost per thousand. What's your cost per thousand you're paying right now?
$2.27.
So you can change this number right here, change this to $2.27. enter that. How much do you think on the, what is the yearly amount of gallons of water you think you use?
Yearly, I'm thinking it's about 38 million.
38? We'll just put that in there. You can always change it,
I'm
okay?
not positive.
They got 4 million here.
45 million, 1, 2. I
We'll
can't
put,
remember it.
we'll put 38 in there and say that. Okay. So you're looking at variable revenue of 73,321. That's the reason why you're not busted, because you do have that amount of water coming in. You notice here, they put a value of 85% times this number. They brought it down to 32,300 because they're accounting for watering and extra stuff that's going on. They're going to strip away so many X amount of gallons. Okay. And so they're saying, and you divide it by 1,000, it comes up to 32,300 gallons. And then you take it times 227, and this is where you come up with the 73,000. So you can see how that works for you. You can take that part of that 73,000. If you know in a winter rate, you need to go by your gallons and kind of take it times 12 or 12 months. You look at your winter, how much water you use. Okay.
It's like when we do the sewer, we base it on a average of the what we consider the 6 winter months, which is like October, November, December, January, February, March.
Okay. And you take that times 2, and the gallons sold, and you could put that number in here or right here. And then you can come up with this number, and you can see what it can offset, what this rate can be. And you can change this O&M, you can decrease it just a little bit to see where, because this will help cover some of that. You follow what I'm saying? So you can do these offsets a little bit. Remember though, that is a variable income. It's not something that you're guaranteed to come in every day.
And can be affected by houses that are empty, houses that are being...
That's another thing I wanted to share with you on that. I worked with a community just recently. They used to have around 216 connections, okay? It was a really thriving community. They are now down to about 106 connections, but the infrastructure didn't change. The mistake they made was those lots that had houses were tore down or burnt down or whatever, they decided they didn't have to pay a water or sewer bill anymore, or even anything on O&M or pay for debt. So guess what happened? They're not able to pay their bills. As long as they have a water and sewer connection in there, they need to pay a base rate. At least cover the loans and maybe a percentage of the O&M. That's something you guys are going to have to decide whether they use it or not, because that infrastructure is there. That's why that property is worth money, is because they have utilities plumbed in and it's ready to go. Because rural development and some of the loaning agencies, they'll base your loans and stuff up based on number of properties and people you have in your community, not so much on connections. Okay. Excuse me. So if if they decide they don't want that utility in there, I had an argument one time, guy, and it's really funny. I don't mind. They can ask the hard questions as well. I've had property in this town for a number of years, and I haven't gotten water. I haven't paid anything on this system because I never had a water or sewer connection on it. That's fine. And it says that means you should pay whenever you hook up a capital improvement fee, which you do. You have that fee on here. I've seen it. And because it's not fair for him to hook up for nothing and not have anything invested that everybody else is vested into the system. Okay? Oh, but that's only good to a point. If everybody decides, okay, I want you to dig my thing up and plug it all off, you'll be right back to that community. He's down to 106 connections and they can't pay no bills. So at some point in time, you got to decide, well, enough is enough, because you still have to pay the bills. The infrastructure is still there. So you need to think about that too. the higher numbers on the capital infra fee really makes those guys think twice about capping them off because it's going to cost them money to put those utilities back in. The argument was, well, I shouldn't have to pay that. I says, okay, that's fine. Let's compare apples and oranges, okay? Your two lots together, and I've seen them, they're about an acre together, correct? And he says, yeah, they're about an acre there. And he says, oh, that's okay. I got about an acre too at home. And that same acre is worth about $150,000. Why is it worth that much money? One, because it's in town. Two, because I have power, sewer, and water. And it's convenient. And I'm in the city limits. Now, if I were to go buy that same acre of property out of town, how much is that piece of property worth? $8,000? Maybe. Maybe. And that was the end of the argument. He has that land in town because the utilities and everything that are there makes equity bills. That's his investment in that property. And he needs to pay for that investment. Okay? It's not fair everybody else pays for it and he doesn't pay anything. Because that's part of the property. And it may help that community that only has 106 connections, say, force those guys to start doing some of that property instead of sit on it. And maybe develop it and get people back into town. You know? I'm not pro-growth or what you anything else, but I'm also, we need to pay the bills. And it's about paying the bills and what we have for infrastructure. So that's something you really have to think about. What is enough? You got to decide. You got to decide what you're going to do and how you want your community to develop and grow at the same time. I think I was talking to another community over on the east side. Their 3/4 inch connection water, well, for one utility is $8,000, and it's another $8,000 for the sewer, for basic household connections, because that makes them want to be, once they have it, they're not going to want to pull it out. You follow what I'm saying? Because they have an investment in it. And that's huge. And you can't afford to lose that investment because you need to pay your bills. So, with that, this is your spreadsheet here. Is there any questions about what we have here? There's even a little thing in here where you can put your combined water and sewer here too.
What about on the actual O&M that you show as 160? You changed that? No.
O&M
Farther
down here.
over. No, not on that line. There you go. You just passed it.
That
Middle,
little yellow
in the
one.
middle. Right, yeah, right there.
Yeah, there.
Yep.
Right.
Over to
All
your...
to your left a little.
Left a little.
It
This-
says
To your
$1.60.
other left.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go.
That's yeah. That's a variable you can put in there to deal with the variable revenue to offset the cost for your rate.
Okay, so it's the same as the one above?
It's similar, but if you want to offset some of what this you have above, this 73, you can use it to help offset your O&M.
So if you put if you put the $2.27 in there, what that happens?
it will probably jump up to about what that. But it's $2. Let's put $2.27.
Yeah, just curious.
Okay.
I just want to see how it works.
Didn't change.
Okay.
You have a glitch in that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do an undo. Maybe I did it. Check the map. Yeah, it's just the way that the spreadsheet was put together.
Okay.
So, but you can put this 227 in here, and I think there was $1.60 up here above too.
Right.
So, so you can see that this number is still the same here as well. So, sewer can be do the same way. All you gotta do is change these numbers here, guys. You know,
Do you have it on the sewer rates on a separate spreadsheet?
you could just copy this and then start and enter the sewer for the base for the sewer on this.
Okay.
This spreadsheet works both water and sewer.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's all
on
based,
the same thing.
it's based on the same exact thing, exactly. So, I guess at this point, do you have any questions? It's this, you can see where this is a great tool to be used, and you can manipulate it and work it and see how you can make things work. You can see, you can tell right now, we need to do some work. You can do the same thing with your sewer, plug in your numbers and see where you're at. And so, and be honest with you, I've seen some systems, they doing the 5% increase that they can do without going through all the, you know, the notice of intent to increase and the public notice and the final resolution for doing a rate. But they're finding out that even the 5%, they're behind the 8 ball on it, because they're not, it's not staying up to what they need to operate the town utilities. So, but this is what I have for you. This is what I'm here for, and this is what I wanted to share with you. So,
But you don't tell us how do we sell this to the general public?
He comes
I'll come back and
comes
we'll
back.
talk. I'll do the same thing I did with you.
I'll guarantee you raise the base rate that much. That's almost 33% base rate raise,
Oh, that's
and
nothing.
John, talking,
they'll be out in the parking lot here at the next council
I no
meeting.
doubt, no doubt. But you know, I had councils and mayors tell that to me, and we did the public meetings, and we shared what I just shared here today, and they realized, oh, we have ownership and responsibility of this system. If we want to keep it up and we want to keep it running, we need to make sure we have the money to do it. And there was even one, the mayor says, there's 2 guys I know there is going to give you trouble big time. I says, they're going to cause you a lot of trouble. I says, no, they won't. Says, oh, yes, they will. Guarantee it, hands down. I says, no. You want to know why they cause trouble? This is why. It's because they don't understand how a rate structure is done and where you guys are at. They don't know how much money it takes to operate this system. They see what it costs, the budgets and stuff, and even if they even want to go into the O&M and break it out even further, they can come in and talk to Brenda. They can find out how and what she pays for it and what it costs to pay for it. Then they'll understand why it costs this X amount of dollars to pay for this stuff. And guess what happened? I had that public meeting, and those guys that were in trouble, instead of being trouble, they became allies, because they have an investment in this community. And the reason why they were in trouble is because they own, you know, developments in town. They have investments, guys. But they don't want to see the utilities go to pot because we're not paying enough. And we give the public an opportunity, and here's what I suggest. Before you do rate increase, do these little workshops just like I'm doing right now. Before you do the NOI, Notice of Intent, give them a chance to share maybe some ideas they have or their concerns, okay? Because they feel like they have ownership and responsibility as well. And those guys became allies instead of problems. Because they have ownership in this. You guys represent those people in this town. It's not yours, it's theirs. It's everybody's in this town. It's their system. It's they turn the faucet on, that's their water. They're paying the bills. They use a toilet. They're paying for treating that water. It's going to the sewer plant. You know? And you know what? The attitude and the change is there. Because they take an ownership and responsibility too. They want to be a part of solving the problem and not being the problem. There is a difference. And I've seen too many communities change overnight after doing these workshops. Because you give an opportunity for them to share what they know. They might have a good idea. Who knows? They might post some dark horse out there has a wonderful way to how meet these costs and stuff. You don't know until you ask them to open the door. And you won't feel like somebody shooting arrows through you or bullets through you or holes through you, because they now understand what you guys understand. And there's that transparency. That's a whole different thing.
How do you get them into the workshops? We can't hardly get them into a
Meeting.
council meeting to.
Yeah, we did, this was on the website, it's been posted on the notices you guys.
That's right.
posted
I've
out,
seen
so-
it on
And in the newspaper.
at castles and stuff. I've seen it in
Right.
the paper.
Frustrating.
They're in a public person here.
They will when we discuss them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But here's the thing, guys. Here's
You're
the
just one
thing.
of us.
And you guys now, as of today, understand how this rate structure works. You are more, or have the education and the knowledge to share this information out there with the people. And you share that information with the people, their whole idea and perspective on things is going to change. And they're going to want to be a part of what's going on. They want to be a part of this community and be a part of what's going on, how to make this place better. There's a big difference.
The first rate structure, or rate increase we did, the sewer was $176 per year. First rate increase was 275%. That was a fun one.
Uh-huh.
Sure was.
I'll bet.
I've been through a couple of those.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
How was the community? How was the economy at that time?
Even then, it still had nothing to do with whether they were they were not happy. that
Well,
it
they're
was being
never
done.
happy
Yeah.
when you get a rate
And the
increase. I
economy
understand that
definitely was
portion of
better.
it, but
But the big thing that, what, like he's saying, is education. We did full-page articles in the newspaper to let them know why this was happening.
Yeah.
It was right about the time we were.
But now here's the thing: is you're in the coffee shop or the bait shop or whatever, you'll be able to share what you know and what you understand about rate structure and why things cost of what they do. I talked to Anna Miller today, and she said, Dan, $68 a month for water and sewer is an average now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you realize that? My Ronan bill's per near $100 for both water and sewer.
Freud, little tiny Freud, Rexburg, most of those are $85 a month.
Rock
Or
Creek,
just- Well, one of them was just for water.
Wolf
It didn't
Creek
include
up
the
there, I think theirs is running around 114 just for sewer.
Yeah.
Because they had to put a wastewater treatment facility in.
And a lot of people don't understand it, is they'll say, well, our rates are different from Missoula's rates. Missoula's rates are lower than ours. But what they forget is that Missoula has 25,000 connections, Superior has 400.
Right, and that's the big difference.
So when you develop something that's $5 million and 415 get divided into it versus 25,000, that's where it comes from. That's what makes it.
It's the base rate. In other words, your base number of connections has is what hurts you. Wait until you have a connection of only 77. And they got a water project of, they're looking at $2.1 million.
It's incredible.
So, I mean, it isn't, it's tough. I'm telling you, it's tough. That's why it's important to set a goal for your asset replacement. You need to set that goal, but you also need to help bring about this information to the public. I mean, go out and walk around and share and talk about it with people on an occasion. You have the education now. You can talk about it intelligently now and understand how it's done and where it is. And encourage them to be a part of a workshop and be a part of what's going on.
And our bond covenants require that we meet coverage, what they call coverage, which is 125% on our bonds, because
Yes.
it's not going to change. The new bonds, getting new bonds is a different rate
Right.
on theirs, but our bonds are still at 125%. We have to make 125% above everything to cover
The loan.
Cover the
The
loan.
loan payment's 125% of what it is. But that's just how.
It's just how that's the loan payment next year for the 4 loans.
So that's what I have.
One loan.
So that's what I have for you guys tonight. I don't want to waste you guys any more time unless you have any more questions, because it's your time right now. Any other questions you might have? And I hope and pray that the community gets involved in it, and all you gotta do is start sharing about it.
You can't even get them out to vote.
Well, no, but you start talking about it, and people start talking, and
Yeah, we'll hear about it.
that's good. Let them hear about it. It says, come to the meeting, come to the workshop, voice your concerns. That's, you guys are, those people out there are the one have ownership in this.
You know, the water rates have not increased for 8 years.
I understand.
Yeah. And the sewer
I
rates
understand
haven't
the whole
increased for 11
process.
years. Yeah, that's what
You
you see
know,
what I'm
but
saying. Oh, yeah.
you still
I know.
have, you know, and I guess in the same aspect when it comes down to a vote of council, if I have 75% of my constituents who put me in office say no, you know which way I'm voting.
Oh, and I understand that.
You know,
And
so
you also want to.
we have to sell this. If you're gonna do this, you gotta sell
Right.
Yeah.
it.
And you have to be part of that process of selling it too, because you're
Oh
gonna,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
if
you
don't
can't
meet bond
act
coverage.
negatively or
Oh, no.
you'll never sell.
Yeah, and
I
if we-
understand
right,
that,
and if
yeah.
because if we don't meet bond coverage, state can pull your loans.
Oh,
They
yeah.
can call your loans now, and right now we have incredibly low interest.
Yeah. And
I've
rural
refinanced them
development's
twice.
money's interest has gone down again too, so.
I don't have any rural developments,
But,
because I've refinanced the water ones twice now, at least, and the sewer one once.
okay. Try to save on your interest.
Save on the interest and save on the number of years.
It
That's
saves
years
a
on
lot
it.
of money. You're talking, when you're in the millions of dollars for some of those projects that you guys are indebted to, it can save you thousands and thousands of dollars.
I think the farthest one on this, on like the water, the longest one out on the water, I think is 27. I think. Because there's one coming up at 23. And the other one's maybe 25. And then the one is, part of this loan number is also the one that you paid for, that we got when we bought the system, the contractor's loans. That are paid once a year to Brandy and Travis Wood for $300 a year, but they're 0%. There's really not a lot of incentive to pay that one quickly. You know, it's getting those other ones paid down, and then this one is somewhere out in the early 20s.
And I should just play with this rate sheet and the other sheet.
Okay.
I'll show you the other sheet. I have it here too as well. This is the sheet. This thing is really, you would think it's a monster, but it's not. Here's your asset. You
Okay.
put it in here. Let me see if I can get this so you can really see it better. Doesn't do any better here. This view. If I go down any bigger, it's going to smaller print. But you can see here it has installed, the data was installed, the original cost of it, and there's an asset class. And this is this asset management sheet I was telling you about earlier. And you can go to here to pumps, and it tells you what size pump it is and what class it is. And this here is a R value and the expected life here. And these, you know, these aren't in, you can change some of these numbers, but it tells you how long some of these pumps and stuff will last. And you put that value in. And here's some other things for ratings. Condition, you can rate that like 1. Is it at a 4? Is for a condition, in other words, is 1 to 6, 6 being the highest. And you can say, well, it's about a third of its life. Confidence is high in it, and performance is at a 3. So you can rate each asset if you want to. Calculations, there's some calculations here. You can change. Remember I was telling you about the origin, the estimated cost per when it was originally, and you can prorate it out and change those numbers. And you'll just have to play with it.
Okay.
it's a great thing. And here's, remember I was telling you about depreciation? To replace that same item, you need a 2 to 3% increase on that asset because they'll go up in costs to replace it. And you can change this variable as well. And of course your value. And here, looky here, you can, it's been appreciated. In this case, it was 3 years. They did 2016, 2018. This is what they said you need to pull to replace it when it fails, right here. And notice how it kind of adds these things up for all those pumps together. So there's a very powerful spreadsheet. And here's the depreciation schedule for it. Remember I was telling you about right here. And then here's a sheet on your budget. So you can play with it. You can look for cost per year graph. They got graphs here. You can see how it affects how it runs and operates. And here's your cost calculators. So this is just another tool for you to use. This is that. If you got it completed and done, it's a living document. It's always changing because every time you fix this thing or changes something on it, it can be added to, or that asset can be started at zero again. You can depreciate it out again because I replaced it and how long it's going to last you. And it's going to tell you how many items that you're going to be hit with to replace. So that's what that spreadsheet does for you. And there's even one here as residual life. I mean, this is really a big spreadsheet. It's just another tool. Here's this factor where it tells you if you replace it before it starts to totally fail, catastrophic fail, I'm going to save money and how much money you're going to save. So anyhow, that's what I have for you today. I don't have anything else. Do we have any more questions about this? Again, I'll copy this file we created here, right here today, onto the jump drive so you can play with it, and those other documents that we've seen today as well. So I don't have any more for you.
I appreciate it, very informative.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.